Hello, everybody. Welcome to another community tournament for Gwent. This time it's called the Deck Roulette.
Yes.
We built some decks. You guys submitted some decks. Some of them are meme. Most of them are meme, but most of the ones we see today are mid.
Yes.
It is.
They are. So, without further ado, the deck list. Oh, and it starts with Basicide.
Yup. So Basicide is bringing all mid. That's the important bit. Now when I'm looking at it on Discord, they're all very blurry for me, so it's gotta be I think this is.
Yeah, so I can see a little bit clearer than you.
Okay, so I know it's a blue, so the first deck is OrderMaster, and please tell us more about it.
Yes, so in terms of the deck, these three lists we classified as mid, which means they are not full-scale meta, but they're also not full-scale meme. This is a pincer maneuver list that runs Siege, and I hear you saying, but Lionheart, what nonsense! Siege is incredible! But this is actually Foltest done banner spam that also happens to run some Siege engines. So it's a bit of a weird hybrid list, kind of a throwback to probably over a year ago now, where this was it's still playable, and I would say it's not a full meme by any stretch, because some of the cards in there just have pure power up at the meta level, but the overall game plan is a bit hybrid, and therefore it's considered kind of mid to us. That's the first list. His second one is Lined Pockets. And again, I hear you thinking, but Lionheart, Lined Pockets, open sesame, that's so good. But you will notice no Acherontia and no Ixora. Instead, this one's all about spending your coins and your tributes, because Siggy Roiven's treasure has been found here. This one's going to be really interesting to see how Basicide can make the most out of it, because it is both Orson Jr. and Senior with your boy Boris as well.
Nice, that sounds exciting. And then the Monsters one was quite popular for a little while and now kind of disappeared, correct?
Yes, yeah.
But it is the Ogroid spam, basically.
Yeah, it's rent-free Ogroids, but not super heavy on the Ogroids. It does have, for instance, an Igni in there for that little bit of control, a Dora Grey in there for a lock. The problem with this list, it can win games on ladder right now, but I'd argue all of these lists can win games on ladder right now. It's not tier 1, tier 2 meta. It is playable, functional, good, fun, but can lose to engines no matter what it does sometimes, so it kind of falls into that middle of the road situation. Basicide will have to get 2 of the 3 of these lists through if he wishes to progress to our finals and have Basicide as a new champion. Imagine.
Ooh, that would be exciting. And of course, in the finals, he has to win with all of them, just to clarify. Yeah.
He does indeed. So, next.
Let's go.
It is OrderMaster.
OrderMaster. And I'm very excited for the first deck. It's sadly not full-on chunky dryads, the way I like them, but it is a Nature's Gift devotion list with your usual suspects, like, Simlas, Orquen, Eitner, and a lot of symbiosis. It doesn't run Gord, because it's not trying to go heavy on the spells, but, yeah.
And that makes sense. Yeah, as you say, it's not a Gord list. This is all in devotion symbiosis. It's all about, while it does run those specials, Alquen changes up what procs that symbiosis by making every Naiad a nature card, effectively, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting. I'm really excited to see it, honestly. Because I think it's the only Squirtle we get to see here today.
I think so, but I can't remember for sure. So it might be. But as there are no bans, all is good. The next list is one that I really like. It is Geddy Skelliger, but it's got that little bit of self-wound. Draco Turtle, Caretrold, and Sigvold make for some really difficult cards to deal with. alongside obviously Geddy's pure engine-based power. It's going to be a tough matchup for a couple of Basicide's lists getting through this Battle Trance list, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But we also will possibly see a monster mirror as well. But it's two very different monster lists.
Yes.
Because the first one by Basicide is a Ogroid with Triss and a little bit of spice. Meanwhile, what is this?
So this is all about the relics and a bit of relic spam. Those of you who have keen eyes will see the Necromancer's Tome, a pretty scary card if you can set it up well enough in the early rounds to play later. In an open decklist situation, of course, I'm sure Basicide has worked out what he wants to do to resolve it, which is great to see. It's going to be really interesting. The list has some consistency. It has the Naglfar, it has the Royal Decree, both of which, of course, can grab you your vital cards. Unicorn will thin Chironex if you do it just right, but plenty of other issues if you just don't find your cards. It's going to be a very spicy series between these two, I think. It could be a lot of fun, and we're going to get started very soon. Now is the time. In we go. For our semi-finals of Deck Roulette.
Let's go.
Now, I'm hopeful that the client has just behaved. Basicide should be on blue coin and at the bottom of our screen. Is that going to be the case?
Indeed.
Tournament client, good job. As we have Basicide with those Ogroids, and OrderMaster's bringing the Skellige deck.
Nice. That is pretty exciting.
Honestly. I'm genuinely impressed that it was just in. So let's take a look at the hands in front of us. Basicide has found a big chunky King Crumb. Always great to try and force. Basicide needs to be able to push this potentially for like a 2-0 situation typically, but Ogroids in a short round 3 can be super strong. OrderMaster, on the other hand, has lots of self-wound, but this is one of the few matchups where that really doesn't help. Because Basicide doesn't care what you're doing when he's Ogroids. He just wants big, slammy points, right?
Yep. Basicide just needs point and that's it. Also, darling, if you could click out of my camera, because now I have a big red line in the middle of my screen.
Of course. How's that?
Much better, appreciate
there you go.
it.
No one else but you can see that, but you're watching live through OBS, of course. Yeah. There we go. So, Basicide opens up, a little bit of tempo, drops himself an Ogroid. Of course, his hand already had enough to instantly trigger this. As we see, the first of the Funeral Boats. This isn't going to do so much here, but there are plenty of spells in hand for OrderMaster, so at least there'll be some value there. Basicide just ignores it and says, I'm feeling mighty. Gets that might engine going instantly.
Well, let's be honest, Basicide can't really ever say anything else than ignoring it, because Basicide basically playing solitaire at this point.
It's like old Harmony.
Time, you know? And meanwhile, OrderMaster, I feel like they're happy to commit some of the Druid Girls, a little bit of Bronze Alchemy, stuff like that. Is okay. What is the lock target? The best that's OrderMaster.
I was just thinking, honestly, it might well be this engine. There is not a lot to lock in Basicide's deck. Realistically speaking, he isn't overly concerned. As OrderMaster there, plays the Crow Clan Girl. Now, in a lot of situations, you wouldn't want to do that because it could get removed before you get the benefit. But he knows Basicide doesn't have much removal. Yeah,
we're not really removing stuff here, are we? No. So, that can stay, probably, yeah. Then we have the bronzes in hand, the crows as well, so that's easy for OrderMaster. Basicide, meanwhile, just decides to thin.
Yeah, and obviously the crows have to be played second because you get that additional crow if there's a druid on board. I would be surprised if that's not OrderMaster's play, as we just see Basicide thin through the deck a little bit here. He wants to find more of his high-value cards, if possible. So that's what he's going to be aiming to do. OrderMaster just umming and ahhing here, thinking, okay, I need to play a card, but I need to be mindful as well that I don't end up tempoed out of this. I don't think Basicide would ever take a tempo pass because he really wants to push for that 2-0. A long round doesn't stand in his favour against this. So I don't expect him to pass, but you've always got to be mindful, because you just don't know. These decks aren't traditional complete meta, right? So the strategy's a bit different.
I'm looking at OrderMaster's hand, right? Because we have the Dracotur, the Sigwald, Fukusha, and all of these don't really want to be played right now. If you kind of want to set it up later with the location as well, possibly.
Possibly, yeah. The only thing is Dracoturtle, one of them is fine, because Fukusha's going to bring it back for you anyway. You almost want to set up something of value in that spot. Basicide having a think now about what he's going to play, but you're not wrong on that point. Oh, now that's interesting.
Oh, do we have a Purify as an OrderMaster?
Not that I know of. Although I don't have the decks up in front of me. Let's check it out, shall we?
Shall we? Yeah, because that's a big chunky chunkus that just wants to stay around, you know?
Yeah, and that's really awkward. Basicide has drawn remarkably well in this spot, and I don't think, I'm just going to check, I don't believe a proactive Purify. There is no Pella. No, there is not. So... And
we have Basicide ahead by what? More than 30 points.
By a lot, and now,
that can be really tricky for OrderMaster to catch up to, because it's just...
I think OrderMaster pretty much has to go away here, which feels really bad for him, because Basicide has control of the round and 18 points of carryover. Now, the Dracoturtle can do some good work in terms of getting dominance control for whatever it's worth, not really a lot in this, and try to remove as well. I'm just checking to see.
Yeah, there was Gremist in the deck.
There is a Gremist. Okay, so he could have purified that. I think the worry for him was... There is a Gremist, you're right. We did give access to the Gremist. But it's only 6 points. And when he needed then in one card of the 25, just didn't have access to that many points. Even with Dracoturtle and Leader, which is not the spot he wants to be in. Has drawn well, though.
Well, the Getty is finally a possible point source for OrderMaster that just wasn't there before. Is it viable? Is it good to keep the Gremist? I almost think yes, could be.
I think so, yeah, because he'll be aware Basicide has access to a lock in the deck, and locking Dracoturtle, locking something like a Sigvold can be really, really frustrating, because you lose so much value. It's kind of their only real answer. And respect this from OrderMaster. He's saying, listen, I can't toy around with you here. I need to try and get ahead of you to not lose a card.
Yeah.
I'm just going to... We both know what's happening here. I'm going to put Getty on the board immediately.
Yeah, that's good.
Respect that.
Needs to
Bricks
happen,
in hand for Basicide, though. He does have Old Speartip Awake just sat in his hand. Not something he'd typically want to see. Nice leader there, though, as well. So that's there. Has also missed his ability to clash. So his removal is based exclusively on the Igni.
And I'm assuming this is Mushy Truffle to just get bonded value of this, yeah. Because this is actually nice for the master, you know. We have the Alchemy cards in the hand, at least one. We're now gonna have 2 of these druids. And we also have the druid girl that can then play another Alchemy card. So that can be quite a lot of points pretty quickly for OrderMaster.
Very much
But again,
so.
Just looking at the score that Basicide's able to make out of Misk bronzes is scary, you know?
It is. And this is going to be something Basicide's going to be toying with. At what point is he far enough ahead that he's going to gain card advantage into a short enough round that he's okay? Yep. Because he has a great short round, potentially just with Osrul and another 12-point card, effectively. He's in a really good spot, hypothetically. Yep. But at the same time, he's got to be mindful that he doesn't pass too early and give the self-wound options and things like the Fukusha points to overcome him. So it's going to be interesting.
Okay, now we see Dracoturtle come down. Might we see the Funeral Bowl just to get a little extra pings here?
Or
we just gotta see the Droid Girl and an Alchemy value?
There's an option if OrderMaster wants to get that boat down first. I think you might be right. He needs to maximize the value he's gonna get each time he does something. So I think you're right. In his turn, playing specials is the most efficient way of doing that because he doesn't have much in the way of removal. So, as a result, if he plays the boat, then the Druid girl, she's going to spawn a special from Geddy.
The Geddy.
Potentially able to play another one from Mushy Truffle, and then another from her moving a crow. Yeah. So that's a lot of extra. Those few little points might make a difference here. He's weighing up the option. He has decided to take it. He's also got to constantly think, A, about the reach. Basicide with a pass here earlier than I thought. But on top of that...
There's an Igni.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Igni's not a worry now because Basicide's passed. Now it's all about the maths. It's a huge gap here. And he's got to trigger Geddy. That's got to be the first thing. Because the Marjoram is a lot, right?
Marjoram on Dracoturtle is amazing, obviously. I think with Leader, we could be close.
Doesn't need the Leader even. He can get rid of the Crow and play another Marjoram, and he actually gets out.
Yep. There we go.
So, turns out a really timely pass from Basicide there, recognizing the threat of the Geddy about to proc. Look how quick that was. How well caught up, and how quickly that catch-up happened.
Definitely. And we kept the Mushy Truffle, which is amazing. We also have the Dwim.
Yeah.
And there she is. So that could be lots of point for OrderMaster, which is repeating that. Or you repeat the location, obviously. Doesn't matter which one you do, but we don't have the location currently with us. Maxi goes. Freya Blessing's a good option. You can always bring something back. I think the location, the biggest card that OrderMaster has missed.
Yeah, but with that Anero, it's a guarantee he's going to find it. And on Basicide's side, he gets rid of a brick and he finds Renfrey. Hasn't got the ability to clash, but it's a powerful looking hand if he can play it just right. Especially finding that Renfrey might come in clutch here.
Indeed, yeah. So let's see. I'm very happy to see, compared to the last tournament, by the way, we don't get that much roping. It's much better for our heart, you know?
Indeed.
This is a little better. I appreciate that from the players.
Kind of them, as we see OrderMaster now working out how's he going to set this up. I would be taking a Kertrold here. Possibly what he's going to do. It is having the choice is great for him. Those choices aren't the best, but he knows he's most likely to be able to hold this order ability, not worry too much, should be okay.
Yep. That's okay. We have these things set up. We have Sigwald. We can get Dracoturtle. It's a lot of things that OrderMaster can get back. What's the armor on Dracoturtle in the graveyard right now?
It doesn't gain armor in the graveyard, it just stays at 6.
6, yeah.
So, and then obviously at the end of it,
we're getting back.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. If it continued to gain armor every turn in the graveyard, oh boy, would that be powerful with this.
Oh yeah, I was just curious what it said now. Yeah.
Sounds good. And it's going to be curious to see what turn that decision comes at. A lock here for Basicide, a potential threat of a lock to prevent that, and it is exactly what OrderMaster does. Surprised he didn't try and take the Thrive value on that. He rates the Thrive higher than he does that, expecting to see more points out of it. Curious decision, because he has no way of purifying here. His list doesn't run a Purify.
True, yeah. And meanwhile, we see OrderMaster setting up another engine, possibly, killing off the Thrive makes sense. And remember, chat, you can always use Mandrome as an offensive decision if you really need to.
You can. I don't think we'll see it from OrderMaster with the ability to return the Dracoturtle late on, but we might, you know?
We have seen it in top 64 or top 16s before. It can be deciding.
Oh, there are definitely times when it's the right decision. 100% there are times when it's right. And we're going to see now Basicide standing in fire beneath me trying to work out, he's just ahead. Is he going to, is he prepared for what's coming? OrderMaster just leaves the Purify on the board, saying, if you don't lock this, anything you lock is going to be safe, right?
Yep.
Bit frustrating for Basicide there, knowing that effectively his lock has to be on something that he doesn't really want to spend a lock on. Yeah.
Okay. So let me just check. We're able to replay both locations. We don't have Sigvald down yet. Fukusha's bringing the Draco Turtle. So it seems like all the master plan is pretty much planned out.
Yeah, OrderMaster's... and the thing that OrderMaster will be constantly trying to think about is whether he's going to get ignied. He needs to constantly think about playing around it, but without last say, that's really tough, because of course he doesn't have the last say, and he wants either Draco Turtle or Sigvald to be quite tall. So
yeah.
It's a tough spot for him.
Makes sense. And suddenly we are now at an Igni range, right?
Yeah. The Igni is there now, and it could be...
It could be what Basicide has to do, yeah.
Then, yeah, if it was lined up to 2 9s, I think he probably would take it. I think I'd be surprised if he takes it now. He knows he'll get a better one, I would imagine. But removing Sigvald from the equation is both of the threats gone, only one of them coming back. Basicide doesn't know that, of course, because OrderMaster does have access to Sigdrifa's Right and Fukusha in the list. We can see what's there, Basicide can't. Curse of Wrath, Curse of Lust, Curse of Pride. Oh, the Curse of Lust could spawn a Gremist for Basicide to purify. Patience is too low. Diligence is 6 damage, and Kindness. What has he gone for? He's gone for Destroy a Unit with 8. Interesting choice.
Okay, we've been curious to see the Gremist being copied over, yeah.
Yeah, because but I suppose with this being buffed up to 9, he doesn't want to waste the points he's used already. So his ability is now Curse of Pride. Destroy an 8 unit and 6 random damage. Scary in case it ruins his own Igni though, right?
True. You don't want to use it too early, because then you might not have targets for Igni. Which then forces you to play Igni sooner. Okay, what are we seeing Fukusha from OrderMaster?
Yeah.
That makes sense. And that is going to be the Draco Turtle on the back row.
Again, makes perfect sense. And he clashes straight away. Really nice.
And then the Dwim can re-clash.
Yes, the Dwim will, but he has to play the Dwim next. Remember, Dwim is a little different now. People often forget that Dwim Viandra got nerfed effectively. She didn't re-zeal. She just reorders now.
Yeah, so... Oh. Well, that is a nice little lock that... Oh, and... I was gonna say Gremist would take care of that, but Gremist did not stick around long enough.
That's a good choice. Basicide decided to take that. So no purifying that now. Using it to clash will be awkward, and he's kind of locked him into a bit of a double situation. Because if he decides to use his Mardromes on the Sigvald, he's going super tall, and as a result, removal is potentially there. If he uses it on the Draco Turtle, that can also be removed and doesn't gain the benefit that it would have done because it's locked. So this one's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. The armor on Draco Turtle is still good for target for Mardromes, because you still gain 6 and don't lose. That makes sense. And now we'll see, because currently it's pretty close, but of course Igni is gonna make a huge difference. And of course Ozriel is a massive swing as well, right?
It is. An interesting choice is spreading his options right now. Smart choice from OrderMaster, trying to ensure that he doesn't end up getting super ignied. And is Basicide here going to play the game? Is he just going to say, I'm going to take a 14-point igni right now because I have a 20? He is. Because he has a 20-point finisher. Ozriel is worth 19 plus 1 thrive. This is going to be close.
So we're gonna see the second clash, I assume, and a Mount-Rome.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Let's go.
Wow, and I think Basicide... So the wrong decision there. I think Basicide should have played the points first, knowing he was losing them, because he has opened up. And this is only 20. Not going to be sufficient, I don't believe.
No, it's not.
There we have it.
Wow. Very well played by OrderMaster.
Yes, it was. And that means that his third deck goes through.
Nice. And if you ever miss... Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. He brings monsters, and Basicide is coming in with his pockets lined and full.
Nice. So if you ever miss what the score is, it's currently above me all the time. You can see what decks people won with, and what remaining ones. So you always have a visual on that.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about Basicide's deck. What is this about?
Basicide's deck it's line pockets, and it runs Siggy Roiven's treasure. It's all about having as many coins as possible and exploiting that. But with some fun cards in the mix as well, not Congregation, but Boris, for example. It is relying on some tributes as well for all the King of Beggars value. Casimir Bassi, way underrated in my opinion as a card, can be absolutely fantastic here. Has managed to pull both the Open Sesames as well. Really great for carryover for Basicide, if he can get them just right. Has enough 1-point spenders as well, where he could really overwhelm this list. But not winning against this list can be really awkward against the one that OrderMaster has, specifically because of the Necromancer's Tome. If your opponent finds it, oh boy, it can be a scary long round if you can't get rid of it.
Definitely. Okay, so I'm really interested to see how this goes, because all the master monsters, it's a little different than quite different than what we saw before, even though still it's a rent-free deck, right?
Yes.
And the Necromancer Tome is scary.
Very. But he decides not to take that, and it's the only way he could have guaranteed it, obviously Naglfar can, in order to give himself the Chironex Unicorn, the tempo, and thinning of that. So it's probably strategically correct, because the list can win without the tome, let's be honest. But it's going to be interesting to see if that comes back to bite him a little bit later. Basicide, with no points on the board right now, has played simply set up for Open Sesame, but he's going to want to spend all of those coins before he drops the other down so they don't proc at the same time. Is that what he's going to do now? Is he going to full spend here?
We'll see. Could be an option, because you have always have enough targets here as a monster player.
Mm-hmm.
If you just click away again, darling.
Yes, of course, sorry. There we go.
Thank you. So, I'm quite curious to see how this goes.
Yeah, Basicide just biding his time. He does have a Hysteria here, which will place bounty on something. But remember, the Bare Knuckle Brawler can't target. It'll only hit the highest unit, so it's going to be an interesting choice as to what he's going to do here. He might be tempted just to full spend. Oh, Siggy Roiven's treasure. There it is, and it creates a crime card for him too, which is always great. 2 bounty options here, as well as the shakedown.
Nice. It's a card you don't really see that often, the treasure, do you?
Not as much as I'd like, and you can see Basicide just over-profited there by so many coins. But Siggy Roiven's treasure is going to allow him to gain one of those back every turn, and he's certainly going to want to do that. Makes sense, yeah. Seems cool. It's a really interesting card. It's effectively overflowing pockets for Syndicate. But it's also, it has a little bit of slowness to it. It does spawn a crime, which can be really helpful. But it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Mordvud growing away in the deck for OrderMaster still. And if you guys are wondering, these decks were either submitted by some of you or were our creation. we should credit the people, actually. We didn't quite. Yes, well, we can always go through towards the end and thank the people who submitted decks, regardless of which ones they are, which would be great, because so many of you took some time to put lists in for us, and obviously we were very grateful for
and that helped so much, yeah, because we ended
really
up having like 80 decks. So if you're curious, the deck lists are at the pinned message, so you can check them because not all of the decks made it through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure you check them out because there were some really cool ideas in the deck list.
Yeah, and it's been really fun. We're showcasing lists that you might not have seen for a while, or even ever potentially, and certainly not in this kind of environment. It
Certainly
really
not
shakes
the ones
things up.
I built. You know,
That's true. As we see Basicide say, "Look, I'm getting out of here." Siggy Royven's treasure follows him into the next round. Remember, so that's effectively 7 coins of carryover Basicide has. If there is a choice to bleed here, that could be quite scary. For OrderMaster. Whether he does or not, of course, we shall see, because Basicide will still retain the coins, some of them. He'll get at least 3 of them back, helps him carry forward. But a long round can be very scary against these relics.
Definitely, yeah. But OrderMaster has found the operator, which is usually pretty good. That's a good sign. Haven't seen the tome yet.
No sign of the Necromancer's Tome. And the problem with Operator, you want Operator for your Self-Eaters, realistically.
Yeah.
And he's not got one in hand here, to the point where he's mulliganed it away.
I thought I sold one, but it was the other relic, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
sense. His gold
sense.
choices from Naglfar, awkward. He has some awkward decisions, because he could pull pretty poorly. He could grab Igni and a poor Morvud at the same time, could be really difficult for him. Now, Basicide needs to answer. He's got a couple of turns in the event there is a pass, and I'm not surprised to see the Eternal Fire Disciple at all. With a little spend, works very nicely for him. He's going to be okay with that, and he just keeps gaining extra coins from Siggy Royven's treasure.
Yep.
This is a big moment, though. OrderMaster's choice to push or to play here is huge.
And equally, Basicide has a pretty good hand going to round 3, unless OrderMaster decides to really, really push.
Yeah. And OrderMaster is going in here, probably the correct decision. I think he's going to destroy that spender, maybe using the Unicorn Kyrenex combo for some tempo here. Manages to grab himself a Fiend. Love to see it. That is a decent number of points. Giving himself that gap. He's trying to hold Basicide at arm's length. But as we saw in the previous series, the more engine-heavy list can, in the space of a single turn, absolutely steamroll, which is what OrderMaster was able to do himself.
Yes. Yeah, OrderMaster can look like they don't have... Basicide can look like he doesn't have that many points, but then once Basicide starts spending and develops the engine, that can be really tough, right?
Very much so. And he's going to be keen to spend here kind of as quickly as he can, because he's got a full pocket in Siggy Royven's treasure. He always wants to make sure that he is earning coins back from this, because they're coins he's otherwise lost. And he has also got his open sesames at 5 and 6 respectively, needing to empty his pocket that many times in order to get the 8 coins of carryover from that.
Which is quite a lot, so you want to be spending and spending and spending if you're Basicide.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, we're probably going to see more clicks from him then.
Yeah, more clicks. And he did lose 2 points here. He played the Congregation on the front row to cost himself the 2 points. Now, it's not necessarily unintentional on Basicide's part, because he's worried about overswarming when you look at the cards he's got. This is another 3. For example, this could be 2 units. So, given the engine he's got and a need to keep spending, sure, he loses 2 points, but I don't think it hurts him so badly to do so.
And looking at OrderMaster, do you think there is an option when OrderMaster goes all the way in with just playing Triss as well and trying to roll Basicide?
I think if I had OrderMaster's hand, I would think about it, because you're going to get a lot of value from the Triss, and Naglfar could be very, very helpful, but it could also be a real risk, right? It could go very wrong. And here he comes. everyone's favorite bear, it's Boris. He's in, he's here, as Basicide now starts putting the pressure on. Is he going to get himself ahead? Doesn't look like he is going to. He can, of course, by spending coins for these explosives, if he now wants to sort of put the pressure on. I think he'll just wait. He doesn't mind this round going the distance.
And Bassa has already committed enough, but also have Jacques and Junior, which are big cards for round 3 if he manages to keep them, right? So,
and he will be aiming to do that.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think he'll definitely be aiming to keep those. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Shady Vendor. Oh, okay.
I'm not doing a Shady Vendor.
Now that's not the best that's quite rough here for OrderMaster, because the only option he could give was to give Basicide a 1-power spender, and he will be very happy.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't necessarily have to commit. He can roll a little differently and not be too unhappy about it. His biggest problem is coin generation now, ironically, without using his leader abilities, and he hasn't tributed at all yet with the King of Beggars. So, if it were me, I would probably be using Shady Vendor to try and roll myself some more coins and then spend down. We'll see what Basicide decides, if he's going to perhaps instead pair looking for... Okay, he's looking for a bounty.
Wow, because that technically also gives you points, but the issue is you can't target it with that spender.
No, but his explosions certainly can.
Indeed.
And now he needs to click and now spend, and he gets 9 coins back. And triggered from 0 as well, doing a very good job of managing that. Just gets ahead by 1 here. Basicide all of a sudden in a very strong spot.
Yes, but also Jacques doesn't have a place to be at, really, by the way.
He does not.
He can barely fit front row right now, so that is risky for Basicide. He doesn't want to stay much longer here.
No, he doesn't if he can help it, but of course, he's
not the one in control.
No, exactly. He's here as long as it's decided, and I think OrderMaster will probably be saying, you know what? I'm going to go all the way down here. I'd be surprised if he doesn't Naglfar and just try and fish for Mordevoot. Or an Igni. Oh, that Igni it could have been 30 points potentially if Basicide was just a point different. And we'll see where he gets.
There's the Shady Window. Yes, that makes sense.
Ooh. Now, he takes the damage. And the thing for Basicide here that's a bit unfortunate, he knows this is a Triss deck, and he obviously wants to remove tall units. So I think he's going to have to spend the 2 here to kill this Gankayan.
Yeah. Because that was the only... the other ones are quite awkward numbers to be removed with that 5, right?
Very much so. But we'll see where this goes, because he's going to have... He knows he's ahead by so many. He decided not to click the extra spend. It was always worth it to just spend 1 here, because he'd have been at 8 and gone back to 9 anyway. But the amount of decision making, oh, that's terrible. It's good in some sense. It's good because he knows he's getting it next round, but in a 3-card round, that's not good. And this is the problem with Naglfar. That's why it's risky so late on.
That was not great. But yeah, at least Operator's out. I guess.
Yes. And he decides to take the lowest value choice. I was expecting a Junior here to try and clear up multiple things.
Okay, so what are we doing with this here? Somebody knocking?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a tournament. Oh, George has just brought me some birthday cakes.
Oh!
Thanks, bud.
That's really nice.
Roman just made cupcakes, so they're delicious.
Oh, really appreciate that.
See you later. I could hear something through my headphones, and I was like, is somebody here? Thanks, bud. Okay, well, I'm nom. Smell great as well. Roman's been baking, everybody. As Basicide here is in a great spot. He's trying to work out if he's going to spend. I think he... Okay.
That was you were really at like top of your chin, and then you went. Is there somebody else with you in the house still?
I don't think so. I think we're good now. I just want to eat the cakes. And he has to take the pass.
OrderMaster takes the pass, yeah, decides not to play the Triss.
Yeah, and obviously for Basicide, that's actually great. He gains the card back. He's going in with a massive amount of coins and retains both of his value golds. He's in a spot where he even has one of the Open Sesame carryovers left as well. Very, very happy.
Okay, put the cakes away. You can have them later.
Want them now. They smell so good. I don't know if Roman's watching, but thanks, Roro.
Thank you, Roro.
So
either way, Basicide's drawing super well.
Yes, I think the Necromancer's Tome, ironically, now isn't worth it, to be completely honest. The only reason you would consider is Incubus will give you a second Incubus on the row, but the rest of his choices aren't very good, though.
Ooh,
and he does decide to keep it. Yeah.
I don't like this for OrderMaster.
Me either. I think Basicide's going to be feeling pretty strongly that he's in a good spot here. With the hand, especially when you look at that Tavern Brawl, just looking all kinds of powerful.
Indeed. You have a nice spender, that's Jacques, you know. You have the Junior, also removal. It's looking really good.
You know your opponent doesn't really have much in the way of removal either. And you can see he ends up with 8 coins from that. The Open Sesame still hasn't triggered. But of course, the King of Beggars, giving him refunds left, right, and center.
Yeah. So we just see the tome. You know, nice and interactive for OrderMaster, which I guess works the best right now.
Makes sense, and he's trying to stay that way if he can, but that's a decent set of pulls for Basicide. The Oxenfurt Guard, not the best value, but he doesn't need a 1p spender here, really. This can be amazing, and the armor protects as well if he spends everything on here and then uses the Oxenfurt Guard for that last 2 to double his value. He's in a very strong spot right now.
Yeah, I don't really see Basicide getting the point, OrderMaster getting the point anywhere.
It's going to be closer than it looks. Mordevood is still going to be 17, sorry, with Triss then giving another 8 on top of that, maybe 9. And there are a lot of points there. But it could be a choice for OrderMaster. If it weren't for all the armor, he could have gone in the other direction instead and gone offensive with it. But given the power that's there, this could be really interesting. This could be closer than we think. Basicide's coins make it rough, though.
Yeah, the coin math that makes it difficult. But yeah, Shady Vendor was a nice pull for OrderMaster because it doesn't have any other use now. That is good. We could see the Tavern Brawl right now. He's hovering over it.
Because he can hit the Gankaien, hit this down to 3, kill it, and then use the Hysteria to kill the 3, knowing that the odds are he's going to use Triss last.
Yeah. And then we see as little as possible, as little unit as possible for the Master, which is really good for Basicide. Ooh, and there goes the punch left and right. And, you know, the relic is gone.
He is. Still a lot of points available for OrderMaster here, but with a pocket full, access to 16 coins, a bounty that's about to hit as well, I think Basicide is in a spot to win this quite well.
Yeah, I think that's how it is. We'll obviously see how it plays out, because the math can be tricky sometimes for everybody. But yeah, I can't see it happening here, sadly.
I can't see it either, but sadly for OrderMaster, amazing for us. Because we then get more games. Yeah.
Indeed. And we see the Junior first removing even the taller one. And then obviously Hysteria can just get rid of the 3 later on.
Yeah.
Triss comes down. Oh, it can't, sorry.
It can't, but Basicide has more than enough coins here to make this work, I think.
But now Triss is the target. He's alive. Yeah. No worries. No worries for Basicide.
Not
He's
at
ahead
all.
already. And
Hysteria is there. He can use Junior to spend and do it. He is way, way ahead in this one, and he will take his first victory My, oh my, that's a lot of coins.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
there we go.
hope so. And you can see
Hope so.
above my lovely better half, you can currently see the score and the decks that have progressed through. Good job, OrderMaster.
Go.
Okay, it is going to be two-player solitaire here, ladies and gentlemen, as we do get to see. This is going to be curious, because if OrderMaster can stick Alcuin, that could be really bad for Basicide. He doesn't have that many ways of dealing with her.
It could be an early rent-free, if needed, to get any removal for Basicide, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
Yeah. But, and on the other hand, OrderMaster has some removal. Nature Rebuke is still there, you know? It's not... From these two, OrderMaster is the less solitaire one.
Yes, slightly so, yes. Slightly so. As we see Basicide not having a full hand this time, but just enough for that to tick over. Otherwise, it would have been a very good removal target. Of course, the timer on it dropped down to just one, and then at the end. Love to see it, as we now... An easy dunker dropped in there, knowing open deck list. They know what's there, right? They know what's there.
Well, Dunka once was named by our good friend Bomblim the quickest card to die in Gwent. And it used to be true. Dunka never stayed. For some reason, she just has a big target on her forehead. Yeah. And that says, please remove me ASAP, you know?
Yeah,
but this time, she is around.
She has survived. And she will continue to survive because there's no real way for Basicide to deal with her. But once again, you can see him getting his mic down on the board super early. He's trying to tempo his way out of this round so he can control the game. He really doesn't want to be in a spot where he loses a round here, and he's going to be mindful of that.
Yeah. So we could see... we still have the big slam for Basicide. Do we check in if there's any purify again? Because that's usually what we miss. But I don't.
Not offensively, no. Not offensively.
Unless Bountiful Harvest gives you one.
If Bountiful Harvest rolls you a purify elf, then potentially yes. And it might be worth considering for OrderMaster, but it's such a huge commitment to give on a potential dice roll, because it's all Squirtle elves now, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Harvest.
It is a massive dice roll, but equally, if that decides between your opponent having 18 points as a carryover or not, that could be big.
It can indeed. A much better opening hand for Basicide. Similar, but he does have the Triss Butterflies instead to grab him a guaranteed Rem-free.
Yeah, and of course, if you play Simlas, that gives you the elf on the board, so then the Purify elf is not just a self-purify, it purifies even your opponent cards. That's important to remember. But yeah, we just see more slam from Basicide. Makes sense. Are we going to see Awkward this turn or later?
Oh, I didn't think we'd see it. You did. You spoke it into existence. I was about to say he's deciding to hold on to this in an attempt to use it against the bleed. But actually he's saying, I'm on red coin. I waited a few turns to get set up, but now has gone very aggressively to get ahead here. That's a lot of points, a lot of value, and I think Basicide has to respond with the big lad.
Yeah, and now the walking trance are a nice removal, not big enough for the big lad, so we could see the Simlas here. At least that's what I would be doing, because it generates in some points to catch up.
It does. I wouldn't be surprised to see the old Spear Tip Asleep hit instead, because it's going to, instead of it merging into an 18, you lose, you as a result get the 12, right?
You will have to use Dunkai as well, correct?
No, you just have to damage it. As soon as it takes damage, that's it. You don't have to kill it. But, he does take... What's he going for? Okay, he's going for the lock and damage. Interesting. So he's going to lock... Nice choice. Takes the lock so that it just doesn't get to come out instead.
Well, you could still fish for Simlas with the Isengrin. That is possibility.
Could. It is an option, yeah. It is one of the choices.
But of course, the
Basticide's-
vitality
I'm
takes a lot.
surprised. Yeah, he didn't choose to use a leader ability on the Old Spear Tip of Sleep because you lose the value. Felt like it was worth the risk there. Because as you point out, you have to fish for Isengrim now. In a world filled with other elves. The potential to not find Simlas now is potentially scary for OrderMaster. That's a brave lock.
Yeah. And then the other dryads, you don't know what dryad you get either, so that's not good. But Basicide's brave here, because all the vitality just gets OrderMaster ahead. And we're all even, 4 cards both.
We are, but he knows, of course, that normally losing on even's terrible. But he is in a spot where he has got 18 points sat on the board. If his opponent passes here, he takes him into a long round. It's not the best spot for Basicide against engines, but it could be worse. It's better than losing on even and being multiple cards down. OrderMaster gets to make the choice here, but has not drawn impeccably right now, and a pass could be his best friend here.
Yeah, the Temperic's not looking great either, so let's see what that mulligan's into.
Okay, better.
Slightly better, yeah. Not quite what you were looking for, I believe.
I don't think so, and a short round does not favour OrderMaster. He's going to be concerned about overfilling his board is the big problem for him, right? In a 10-card round, with no expectation that the opponent's going to remove a lot, it could be really scary.
But equally, never mind. I was thinking, you could just bleed everything out because you could do a short round with Ethne and Simlas. But no, never mind.
Yeah, and honestly, Ethne and Simlas probably lose to. Yeah, that's the thing. There are a lot of points in a long round where you can build that stuff up. And the two together are a lot of points, but he has found them and proceeded to not brick as well. That's very, very good draws here. The biggest question is going to be now, can he avoid over swarming? Because the mulligan's so risky here. He could brick this. There's no other duplicates. He really has to, with just these.
That was talent.
Yeah, he's just got a knot there. Okay, and he does decide to hold off, behave, and just go, no, I have the hand, I'm happy, this is where we're going. But there's an interesting interaction here, because if he drops the immune Ethne right now, Riptide can kill it.
Oh.
And that's going to be something that OrderMaster has to consider with the pacing of what he drops.
Could we... the only way we could potentially avoid it is something like Hammer Dryad that gets taller quickly.
Yeah. Oh, now this is curious. He's going to double leader and kill this. He's going to use the Cyclops to kill that engine. That's really smart from Basicide.
Yeah.
Because that engine, over the course of a long round, when he can't deal with it, terrifying. He knows there's more coming. He knows he's very unlikely to lose his Igni in this matchup because the trees will all be the same value. He's going to be reasonably content.
And having this extra symbiosis point can be a lot over the course of such a long round, right?
You're completely right.
Yeah. So, what are the cards remaining in deck that could Isengrim Council bring? Can we check?
Isengrim only has 2 choices, which is great because it grabs a 6-point Sorceress of Dol Blathanna, for instance. Dunka has lots of choices here as well, of course. We know Simlas is going to take the Bountiful Harvests, but you've got Falva, sorry. I always mix the two of them up. It's going to be interesting.
Yep. So yeah, we have a baity fishy sorceries, just going like, can you remove me? Oh no.
But the lock is a decent choice. Instead, Basicide says, look, I'm not taking the bait. I don't want to lock that. You're going to get a 4 provision option. And fine with that. You can have your 4 provision card. Because he knows the Purifiers exist. And that they should be accessible, right? So he's not going to waste his lock on that. Although there's not too much more to grab a lock on, to be fair.
Exactly, yeah. So you're not getting rid of... There's not many things to lock, but OrderMaster needs to start building the symbiosis before spending any of the nature cards. This doesn't matter. Yeah.
And you're definitely right. Is he going to drop the Ethne first in order to try and get the value from this one? That's going to be the query.
But then you're not avoiding the clash again.
Yeah.
But
how long do you play around that before you get to the stage where you go, actually, you know what? I need to just see, I need to test if you have it effectively, right?
Yeah. I would probably put down the other Naiad, boost it, and then play the Aetna.
Yes.
Because it's at 9, so that would be very close. Welcome in, everybody, by the way. We're very focused on the casting, as always, when we cast.
Yes.
These are the semi-finals of our community Deck Roulette. Very nice to see you here. Hope you're enjoying a little bit of Saturday cheeky Gwent.
Yes.
And this is the last game of the semi-finals. We have a surprise after this.
We do.
Before going to finals.
Yes, it's going to be great as we see, okay, the Valve drops down and it plays the Naiad Fledgling, because of course it is technically a nature card. It means there is just one target for Isengrim's Council, that's Sorceress of Dol Blathanna, and OrderMaster has a 6-point Sorceress right now, but has chosen not to click it, waiting constantly saying, you could have removed it, you would have removed it. Now, I'm happy. But I think Basicide's going to be reasonably content right now at what he can grab. Likely that Osril coming into hand, but in place, very nice. Very, very nice for him, especially with the boost on it.
Yeah, makes sense. So, OrderMaster needs to start putting down things and doesn't really have much more to avoid. What is this? He clicked the Sorceress and got the Bountiful Harvest. Makes sense.
Oh, very talented. Wow, Bountiful Harvest from a Sorceress into a Sorceress. The chain begins. And as good as that looks, it's more units potentially going to get in the way.
More units, more Overswarm, and that back row is already looking quite full.
However, this Naiad Keeper just kept Ethne alive.
Yes, indeed. Or at least somewhere until, Yeah, that's looking good.
So far, so good. Basicide, of course, has ways to potentially get around that. He can use the Igni to remove it. He can use his last leader ability, roll Renfrey, and try and find another way to deal with it. There are lots of options still in play for him to get around this.
Yeah, indeed. So, let's see. Because we need to see something. We could see the lock on the other Sorceress. Unless you're trying to say, look, I think you're gonna Overswarm, I'm just gonna have you that extra special,
Yeah, he's weighing up his choices diligently here. He's teasing us down to the last second. He takes the lock, and on the Sorceress of Dol Blathanna too. Yep. Interesting choice. I'm curious about that over the Naiad Fledgling, because this can be worth a lot more points over the course of a long round. And the Ethne now, she drops down, and she will survive for a single turn here. Basicide,
what's the Igni situation?
Oh, good. Igni is only 24. So but a point would have been needed. And alas, there is no point there available. Basicide cannot Igni this Ethne.
Oh my god. I was like, that's it. Goodbye.
Yeah, instead he goes to Renfrey. He has found Curse of Sloth, which is useless. Envy, which is great. And Curse of Wrath. End of your turn. Boost. End of your turn. Play lowest provision unit. Charity is amazing for him here. But he takes the damage. And then just pauses. Wow.
Nope you. Okay. Oh, geez, this is close.
It is.
I love this deck. I love Devil Symbiosis. It always surprises me how many
he plays front row! Oh, no, and here comes the Igni. Always up here. Igni is going to hit. I think Basicide might just be Igniing that front row any second now. And Ethne. Oh, no. I think perhaps I always remember Igni as 20 points, so perhaps he's thinking if you had it, you'd have burnt her. You don't have it, therefore, I'm going to get a... Basicide could also go for Clash and then Leader here, but it's really risky. I think he has to just take the Igni. This is the final round of the semi-finals, okay? Each player has won once, they only need to win once more, and it's coming right down to it. This Simless could really end up being a lot of points.
Okay, so we see the sorcerer is coming down. That makes sense, you know, prepare it. We then have to remember to play the Simless before the Pond Keeper, because otherwise you have no targets for all the points from Simless.
That's right. I think I'm expecting to see Clash now from Lord Riptide and the full leader from Basicide, because it will clear this up, this will die. Because he doesn't want to allow Basicide space is the problem, and he will clear so many units by doing this. Because he hits everything down, so lots of it goes down to 1. And then the 6 random damage could ping it. Instead, he just takes the big buff, and he would rather make it more difficult. The Simless has to hit now, because you don't want to waste that carryover. Unless he double Dryad's Caresses. He could purify this. There's a lot of points in that. That could actually be better.
That could be better.
Because he will overswarm if he plays this, maybe. Overswarm, Does he?
So we could see the Pond Keeper to get an extra symbiosis point.
And I think that's what he's got to do. He has to Pond Keeper.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if he plays it the other way around, it's all well and good that the Pond Keeper's worth 9. Oh, no, he's done it now.
No. That's what... Let's see.
But...
No, don't do it.
But he's okay. Because Basicide has to remove something.
True.
Realistically, he either doesn't use his leader ability.
But I think you were right.
The time!
I think you were right that the Dryad Kairos would have been safer.
Yes, it would have been.
Oh god.
Okay.
So full. Okay.
It is a full board here. Now, for Basicide, this is a tough situation because he has to play the Riptide. But he could play it back row. Instead, the difficulty is, of course, these clicks make it that he has to play and maximize the value. I think OrderMaster might just have done this.
It's looking very impossible for Basicide to catch up, even with the Riptide going back row and then using leader, not removing anything. Just the clicks on the Naiads and the Sorcerer are enough.
Yeah, and I think the lock on this would have been more valuable. There are 8 points here. The back row is correct. He's trying not to remove anything, but unfortunately he does.
Okay, and it's a lot of points that suddenly OrderMaster needs.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming this low. Okay, let's see. This is intense. Okay, so that goes front row because that's the only space that it can have. We click everything. And then what's the most points here?
It doesn't matter, he's already done it. And he has just made it through by 4. And I actually think... oh my word! That was incredible. And
that was intense.
So Basicide took a choice there. He decided not to play front row because he was trying to make sure he didn't clear the board. He was hoping for that, but if he plays it front row, he wins by 1.